patrons, and good morning. Harlan here. I've had a number of questions asking about Malevolent, how it works, how long it takes me, and so on and so forth. And I thought, as a Patreon exclusive, I would sort of go through my process on the newest episode and release it after the episode is done for you guys to see. So this is going to be relatively straightforward. I'm just going to be recording the pieces that I think are interesting straight from the get-go. So it's 11 o'clock on Monday the 12th, as you can see. This is later than I usually start. I usually wake up on Mondays around 7:30, get ready, and by 8:39 I have had breakfast and I start the episode. Today I had some laundry and stuff to do. So yeah, I'm literally going to take this step by step so you can see exactly what I do. So I start off every Monday morning by going to the Patreon and seeing what the last vote was on the decision. So this one was a little differently, obviously, because there was a riddle and you guys voted for the train station. Cool. So that makes it a little easier. And I know where I'm going. So I literally go to my Malevolent folder. You can see here I have all my chapters written down as I write them, all the files, as well as the finished things. So I just take my last chapter, which was 28, literally copy it, rename it 29, which is what we're on today. Wow, 29. And then I change it like this, take out the intro, go straight down to typically the last line like this, so I can make sure where I ended. I make that italic so I know what the last line of the previous episode was, so that I can go into the next episode correctly, so that when I'm editing them together for the large public parts, I know they're going to sync up well. And then I start writing. I typically write the passage first. I'm not going to film all of this, obviously. I'm just going to sort of start and then stop, and then we'll jump to the ending probably. And typically my style of writing for this is I sort of bullet point it. So, oh well, what's the answer? We know Arthur is going to say a train, something like that. Now, this is not, I've done script writing professionally, not professionally, I've done it in school, I should say, with things like Final Draft and all that stuff. I don't write for people to see because it's not professional. It's not easy to read. I just write so that I can read it because it's so much easier. Otherwise, it would take forever to try to go through it. So typically, I just write back and forth with entering lines between each other. And if I'm ever really unclear or if it gets sort of muddy, I'll just bold the entities text so that I can clear. So I know that the entity last said, oh well, what's the answer? And then Arthur's going to say a train. And then I typically just have a conversation back and forth between the two characters in my mind, just imagining what they would say. So I could see him going, a train. Yes. The riddle. And then sometimes if I need to reference what the previous episode was, I'll just open it here, because I do want to sort of quote what the riddle was. So you'll say, yes, the riddle, long, hard body, straight as an arrow, but moves as a serpent. It's ... and then maybe the entity will say a train. Exactly. So I'll sort of do on this, and then once I have the beginning, I'll delete this part because it's not really important. I won't bold every time. I'm just doing this sort of to show you, but typically this is enough for me to sort of get the thread of who's talking when, and then they just sort of bounce back and forth. And then occasionally, if I want a moment of emphasis while I'm recording and I want to pause, Arthur will sort of stop talking, or now that I'm going to talk, I'll just put P here, and that typically gives me the memory in a few minutes when I'm recording this to pause. With an episode like this, I know where I'm going pretty easily, but what I will sometimes do to kind of keep the thread alive is I'll jot out what I want to do. So I know they're in Amanda's apartment right now. So from the apartment, I want to do walking old lady. I want to make her a hoarder and do some spooky stuff there. And then maybe like sort of a sanity scene. Then travel to the train and locker. And that will be the rough outline. I don't need to do that here because I know where I'm going. I'm gonna walk and type as I go. So yeah, I'm gonna pause it here and do some writing and record in a little bit and let you guys know where I'm at then. So it's 11:09 right now, so you'll kind of get an idea of how long this takes me. So I've written the first scene, and typically when I'm done, I'll just put SFX dot and then sort of give myself a cue for what I'm doing: walking, door, steps, and sort of do that. And I'll do that every once in a while where I think sound effects are going to be needed, just so I don't forget. And then I continue on to the next scene. So I'm going to have Arthur walk down the stairs and have a conversation with the entity as they're going. And then when I get to the spot where the lady is, I don't know how I want to draw him towards her apartment. I just know that that's what I want. I think that'll be creepy and fun. So here I've sort of added in the sound effects, lady pleading ? And this is going to depend on what kind of sound effects I can do. So this might even change. So this will be interesting because I'm recording this sort of as it goes. And you obviously will have heard the final product now. So you might, who knows, you might be thinking, well, this doesn't sound like what ends up being. So we'll see. But I want something to draw him towards. And as I'm writing this, I'm actually sort of speaking out loud to myself. I'm talking as Arthur, being like, what? Stop. And I'm sort of just doing it a little bit to get the idea of the voices in my head. And I think this is what helps me go back and forth between the two characters easily. So we'll see what happens with this. This will be interesting. All right. 11:30. So I've written the bulk of it, about 890 words. I try to aim to be above 700. That usually gives me 6-minute episode. I originally wanted to make this series 10 to 15-minute episodes, but honestly, as the quality in my production has gone up, which it has, I've really started to, make sure that it sounds really, really tight. I've just noticed that it just takes way too long otherwise. The writing usually takes the longest part. However, when I have an idea fully formed, like this morning, sitting down, regardless of where you guys chose to go, I had an idea, and I spoke to Joe about a few options, and we sort of sussed out some ideas. She's my sounding board. And so I knew where this one was going to go pretty easy. So it wasn't too bad. But post-production on this one will still be relatively long. Anyway, so I've done all the dialogue, all the main parts. So then I usually end it. So, I think this is where she wants us to head, is where the episode will end. So I know the voice is going to be a little bit trying to push you guys towards the murderer. Because, again, these are legitimate options. I have a story thread if you went for the murderer, and it's going to reveal some stuff. I also have some stuff to continue forward. I think this one, I want you guys to push forward, frankly. So I think I'm going to give this video after you've made the decision, or at least after a few people have voted. So probably before 30 comes out, or maybe as 30 comes out. I don't really know yet. But so what will the voice say? Another choice. It's so tough. How many times can you say, another decision? But whatever. Another choice for you. I've offered many times now to take you to the another choice for you. The murderer, Amanda's murderer, sits in a cell waiting to be questioned. What answers he provides, if any, are still unknown. However, with this map, a new thread emerges. One that, if pulled correctly, may unravel a larger, more sinister picture. Do you push forward and continue continue towards Amanda's, I don't know, path? Or do you sidestep and head back a little for more context? The choice is yours. There, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the intro, but you don't need to see that. All right, so that is the episode, chapter 29. That is six pages-ish, 943 words. And just looking at last chapter, we had 999 words, and I think it was about a 7-minute episode. So this will be a shorter one. This one was 731 words, but it really just depends on how spaced out it is. So now to show you the next step. So the first step is writing. That took me about 20 minutes, so not too bad actually. Now I open my Ableton, which is what I record with. A wonderful tool that I will never go back to anything else. So what I do is I open my last chapter, chapter 28. And here you will see all of the various threads that I have. So going from top to bottom, this is a view of the whole episode. So this, as you can see, is the dialogue. The demon and then Arthur Lester I have in the first two sort of things. And then going down, I just use various things to line up all the room tone and all the intro and outro clips. And it's just typically, I don't really have a clean system. I'll probably redo it at 30, but typically I use these bottom ones for music. I use these middle ones for sort of out of game sound effects, such as sanity rolls and things like that. I use these ones for in-game ambience, and then I use these for like footsteps and stuff, and then I use the top ones for character voices, guests and whatnot. And I go from there. So I first off will save a new file. This will be 29. Make sure I save it, and then I will delete all that, and then I will record. So I isolate it, so I don't get rid of everything just yet, because I want to make sure that I don't get rid of all these files down there, because sometimes I reuse them, especially if I'm ending an episode and then starting another one. I want to use the end of the previous file at the beginning of this one, right? Because I want the same ambient tone. It just saves time dragging new clips in. So let's start off with this demon's voice, or the entity's voice, I should say. And don't worry, demon is not a spoiler. I just use that as my title. So I'm dragging this script to my other monitor just because it's easier to read from there for me. And then I will record. So this should work with the recording, and then you'll get to see a bit. So this is basically how I do the demon voice. Well, well, well. It looks like at least one of you is very clever. Having solved the riddle in time, you were given another choice. Head to the train station. Head to the train station. You happily leapt at the chance to follow Amanda's clue, and I can't say I blame you. There is much to see and more to learn. Let's see where this path takes you, shall we? That's typically how many times I fuck up. And then, let's turn this down a little bit. Well, well, well. Now you shouldn't be able to hear this through my desk. Actually, I can probably do that for you. Why not? Why not? There. Oh, well, well. Well, well, well. It looks like it. So the first thing I'll do is I will warp this. So I take off the warp and I will bring it down. So I'll transpose it. The demon's voice, the entity's voice, is always lower than mine. Well, well, well. It looks like at least one of you is very clever. Having solved the riddle in time, you were given another choice. Clever. Having solved the riddle in time, you were given another choice. Head to the train station. You happily
Head to the train station.
I'll always try to get a breath in,
Head to the train.
so it sounds more natural.
Choice. Head to the train station. You happily leapt at the chance and... You happily leapt at the chance to follow Amanda's clue, and I can't say I blame you. There is much to see and more to learn. Let's see where this path takes you, shall we?
So there, that's demon done. And I'll bring that to the beginning, and then typically I'll just see how it lines up.
Well, well, well. It looks like at least one of you is very clear. Let's see where this path takes you, shall we?
There, and now we're ready to start. Now this last episode started outdoors, so that's not going to work anymore. But I'm going to need this outdoor sound effect for the end of the episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it back here at the end for now, because there's no sense in getting rid of it completely, because I'm going to need it again. And then I know that I end basically where I started, so I'm going to go to the end of this. Oh, I guess there were no sound effects in Amanda's apartment, were there? There was just this. So I didn't have any music in Amanda's apartment, just books and stuff like that. So I'm going to copy that. I'll bring that to the beginning, just so I have a good reference. And then I'll usually get rid of the middle stuff. I thought I had some sound effects. I guess I didn't when they opened the door. Or maybe they faded out. Maybe I did a bad job last time. Oh no, that's right. I faded them out when the music started. So, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's the demon's voice, number 1. So what I will do now is I will continue recording just the demon's side. So I'll show you a little bit of that. So,
shall we?
So starting there, I'm going to isolate this track so it won't play anything else. And I'll just do a bit of it like this. A train. A train. All right then. So we find a train. And you think it makes more sense to head there than to find out more about her killer? Right. Fair enough. Let's head to the train station. Oh. The numbers. The numbers? Right. So I fucked up a line there, obviously. But before I'll cut it out, what I do is I, again, bring it all down.
A train. There. Right. Fair enough. Let's head to the train station. Oh. The numbers.
So
let's head to the train station.
That one shouldn't have been. So what I'll typically do is I'll do all of the demon like that. And then if I need retakes, I'll do retakes. But just to show you guys how I do it, because I'm not going to be doing the entire thing, I'm now going to show you Arthur. And this is how I do it. A train. Yes, the riddle, the long hard body, straight as an arrow but moves like a serpent. It's exactly. The station. She must mean for us to head there. She knew someone was following her. She knew someone was following her. She knew enough to hide this for whomever is to follow. She not only feared for her life, but she wanted us to see something or find something. Let's head to the train station. Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there. Let's move. So that is Arthur. And now we sync them up. So I know that Arthur goes first. And again, I have my script here that I'm just sort of following through. A train.
You, shall we?
A train. A train.
Train. A train.
Yes, the riddle, the long hard
A
body,
train.
straight as an arrow but moves like a serpent.
All right then. A train.
Riddle, the long hard
A
body,
train.
straight as an arrow but moves like a serpent. It's
A train.
exactly
All right then. So we find a train.
the station. She
And you
must
think it
mean
makes
for us
more
to head
sense
there.
to...
Now I have to make sure to take this out.
So we find a train.
The station. She must
Find a train.
the station. She must mean for us to head there.
All right then. So we find a train.
The station. She must mean for us.
Train.
The station. She must mean for us to head there.
And you think it makes more sense to...
Mean for us to head there.
And you think it makes more sense to head there than to find out more about her killer.
She knew someone was following
Right.
her.
Fair.
She knew someone was following her.
Right.
She knew
Fair
someone
enough.
was following her. She knew enough to hide this for whomever is to...
Than to find out more about her killer.
She knew someone was following...
Killer.
She knew someone was following her. She knew enough to hide this for whomever is to follow. She not only feared for her life, but she wanted us to see something or find something.
Right. Fair enough.
Let's head to the train station.
The numbers.
To the train station.
The numbers.
Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there.
The numbers.
Train station.
The numbers.
Must be a combination of sorts.
The numbers.
Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there.
Right.
Let's move. Let's move. There. So now I just kind of do a quick listen. A train.
A train.
Yes, the riddle, the long hard body, straight as an arrow but moves like a serpent. It's
A train.
exactly
All right then. So we find a train.
the station. She must mean for us to head there.
And you think it makes more sense to head there than to find out more about her killer.
She knew someone was following her. She knew enough to hide this for whomever is to follow. She not only feared for her life, but she wanted us to see something or find something.
Right. Fair enough.
Let's head to the train station.
The numbers.
Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there.
Right.
Let's move. There, so that's the intro scene. I think I want to retake this. A train. A little bit more, less surprised and more sort of revolutionary or revealed. A train. A train. Maybe less loud. It's a train. It's a train. Let's see how that sounds.
Shall we?
It's a train. Give it a little bit more time. It's a train.
A train.
Yes, it's a train.
A train.
Yes, it's a train. Sometimes if I need a little bit of space, I'll give some.
Shall we?
It's a train. And that needs just a little more.
Shall we?
It's a train.
A train.
Yes, the riddle. It's a train.
A train.
Yes, the riddle, the long hard body, straight as an arrow. There. And then I save it. So typically I do the entire episode or the entirety of the recording, and then I'll sort of sequence it all like that. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll come back when that's all done, and I'll show you the next stage, which is what I call post-processing. There. Entity/demon/John is done, and now it's time for Arthur, which is the hardest part because Arthur's the one doing all the things. He's the one walking up and down stairs. He's the one, So he's the one that I find I end up needing to retake the most because oftentimes in context to what he's doing, it sounds too boring, especially if I'm walking up and down stairs and I'm just reading the lines. I have to make sure that he's like panting a little bit. Otherwise it doesn't sell it, doesn't sound right. It's not acting. So now it's time to do Arthur. There. And this is the other part done. Arthur. So now I'm going to sequence. It's been about an hour between recording the pieces and writing, and sequencing doesn't take me too long. So we'll see how long that takes. Oh,
I mean
God,
the lady
the air out
in the
here
woods.
is so much better. I can still feel
I mean
the
the
stench
la-
on my tongue.
I mean the lady in
What
the
do you mean
woods.
something is
Kellen.
doing this?
I mean the.
What do you mean something is doing this?
I mean the lady in the woods. Kellen, Eddie, this
Eddie.
woman. Yes, the man
Yes,
you killed back
yes.
in. Eddie, this woman.
Eddie.
Yes, the man you killed back
Yes,
in Ark. This woman.
Eddie.
Yes, the man you killed back in Arkham.
Yes, I know who
Arthur,
Eddie
he
is.
tried to attack.
I mean to say,
Arthur, he tried to attack
You think he
us.
was-
He tried to kill.
you think he was of the same... I mean to say, you think he was of the same mindset.
Arthur, he tried.
He was of the same mindset.
Arthur, he tried to attack us.
And there we are. That is the sequencing, is what I sort of call it. So we are done the writing phase, the recording phase, and the sequencing phase. Now it is, of course, the most time-consuming part, which is the post-production. So you can hear now, I've sort of gotten the majority of the spacing out. I mean, I might tweak a few things as it's going along. It's a train.
A train.
Yes, the riddle.
As if they're searching for us.
But everything is...
I
guess. Everything is sort of mapped out in terms of pausing and all that stuff. So there are a few things that are going to be easier in this episode because I'm sort of keeping these ones local. And that is that I have a lot of the files already. The time-consuming episodes are the ones that sort of jump theme. I've already lined up the ending. I think this is where she wants us to head.
Another choice for you.
So that's all sort of ready to go. And I have a few repeat sounds that I can change. She's calling out.
Just
Like opening and shutting doors and stuff like that. And a lot of these, I have the soft shoe
there. Then to find out.
ready. And he knew... What's that? Rhythmic bed moves, which I don't need. There's no bed moving in this one, I think. Although he is sitting on the bed at the end of the last episode, I think, isn't he? No, that's when they got the book out. So most of these, I think I'm going to be able to just reuse. And that's the book. So we'll see how that goes, and I think what I'll do is I'll just start sequencing a bit, and I'll record when interesting things pop up, or I should say post-production a little bit, and I'll record when interesting things that I want to show you guys pops up. So certain things I established in previous episodes I want to make sure I'm continuous with. So I was just listening back and I noticed that room tone, this New York traffic sort of room tone that I was using, was only present outside in the hall, and then the minute he got into Amanda's room, it ended. So they're going to be pretty quick to leave this room, but then once they do, I'm going to reintroduce that tone again, so sort of your ear can pick up when he's in the hall and whatnot. So yeah. Sound effects time. So I have an ongoing folder of sound effects in my recording, and I try to keep them chapter specific, so if I need to reference them, I can go back, which I don't really do, but whatever. So this is going to be my folder for chapter 29 sound effects. And we subscribe, thank you to the patrons, because this is a great opportunity to sort of talk about what some of the things that you guys are helping us do. For example, there are podcast hosting fees. Actually, yeah, I can list a few of them, which is just interesting. So right now we have 3 podcasts: Malevolent, Invictus, and Dice Shame. All of those need hosting fees for the size of the files. So because Malevolent and Dice Shame are like 45 plus minutes, they need at least 100 megabytes per, which is like $30 a month. And then Invictus is also bigger, so that needs 30 to 45, I think, dollars a month. So right there, that's close to $100 worth of hosting fees that we need to keep the podcasts running. On top of that, I use story blocks for all the sound effects, as does Justin, which Aisha uses this too. I gave her the account so she can use it for Invictus, because she does sound effects for that. So this is where we get all of our sound effects stuff from. which is a subscription. I think it's like $200 a year or something like that. So that's, crazy expensive as well. Obviously, then there's like the Dice Shame website stuff and all of the other things that we need to be mindful of. What is it called? Zoom subscription we have, so that we can stream the old way we used to. And I mean, those are just a few Google Drive, because we use a ton of them. Man, listing it out, it really does make sense. It's funny because, Patreon, sometimes I feel like you guys are doing so much, and then I realize that yes, you are, of course, but like it's necessary. we don't have the money to do all this stuff, so I'm so happy to no longer have to pay out of pocket. So anyway, so I want to get the door opening sound effect for Amanda's apartment. I'm not too worried about it being the same sound effect as last time. Honestly, because doors sound different all the time. And even though I have it, I want to show you guys kind of what it could sound like. So typically this is what I do. I download it as a WAV file. I bring it down here. So I'm going to be using that sound effect to open the door. And then I'll drag it into one of these files. It's an arrow but moves like a serpent. It's
a train.
Exactly.
All right then. So we find a train.
The station. She must mean for us to
find out more about her killer.
She knew someone was following. She not only feared...
It makes more sense to head there than to find out more about her killer.
Where's the scene end here? So that's where the door open needs to go, which is also the room tone. So I don't want it in the same file because I'm going to want to overlap them. And I know it's echoey and I apologize. It's just because I'm recording at the same time as doing this and I don't want to put on headphones because I'm lazy. A combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there.
Right.
Let's move. So that's, first off, pretty loud, but I also notice there's no close. So, what's this sound like? See, that's nice, but it's not very echoey. It doesn't really give the feeling of a... That sounds a bit more echoey. So let me just see if I can find another door close. And you can see how I do this. That sounds nice. Oops. Bring out the door closed. Bring that in too. Bring that in too. There we go. So there's our door shut. So that's sort of the breakdown of those sound effects. But there are going to be many steps to this. So first off, let's get our hallway. Footsteps. Shoes on linoleum is what I use probably the most out of any sound effect here. I can probably just find it from another episode. Come on. Casual shoes on brick, that's out. That's the outside walking that I use. Okay, I accidentally deleted. Or is this, what's this? Casual shoes on brick, that's brick. Brick, 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 brick. Brick, 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 brick. Footsteps, carpet. Footsteps, carpet. Bed sheet, book by book. Okay, so yeah, I got rid of it. Let me quickly find that. There, so I've gotten the sound effect here. Footsteps, casual shoes on linoleum. And so we now have our sort of scene. We have Arthur and the entity in the room talking about the riddle and stuff. So I don't want him just standing there. I want a little bit of movement. So you'll hear here.
Much to see and more to learn.
Yes, the riddle, the long hard body, straight as an arrow but moves like a serpent. So maybe, Arthur takes a few quick steps, and you'll see here I'm transposing up. So normally I keep them down a little bit, so the footsteps are a little slower, a little heavier, because Arthur, is a male and he's walking a bit heavier. But I'm going to bring it up because I want to kind of give the impression that he's walking a bit quick, and I'll make it a little bit louder. That's the volume there. Long hard body, straight as an arrow but moves like a serpent. It's
a train.
Sort of like he's excited. He's pacing a little bit. Straight as an arrow, but moves like a serpent. It's
a train.
Exactly. Then he stops to reveal it to the entity.
All right, then. So we find a train.
The station. She must mean for us to head there.
And you think it makes
Takes another few steps around. You know, he's just kind of relaxing.
And you think it makes more sense to head there than to find out more about her killer?
She knew someone was following her. She knew enough to hide this for whomever is to follow. She not only feared for her life, but she wanted us to see something or find something.
Right. Fair enough.
Let's head to the train station.
The numbers?
Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there.
Right.
The room's not that big, so I don't want that many footsteps to the door. He's already walked a bit, so maybe he'll take a few steps after he says, let's head to the train station.
The numbers?
Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are... No, once he starts walking, he should go, because otherwise it just sounds weird. So let's try that.
The numbers?
Must be a combination of sorts. Perhaps there are lockers there.
Right.
Let's move.
Right.
Let's move. Let's move. What do you suppose she had? That's the end of the scene there. Okay, so we'll want to take a few steps before the door, obviously.
Right.
Let's move. I think that's probably enough. Then he'll open the door. And we're going to want to make that much quieter. And I don't really want that click, I don't think. Let's make it a little heavier. Although it's tough to sort of fade that out. Now, and this is important, right? Because when you're opening a door, you don't stop at the door, really. So what I usually do is I'll throw another footstep down. You know, because you take maybe a half step. And then whatever shoe is in the hallway, you know, you're starting to step out into the hallway. There we go. And it's not that quickly either. So what we'll do is sorry, this doesn't want to play. Let's go -2 transpose so the footsteps are a little heavier. And I want to space this out. You know, so he's kind of got one foot out in the hallway. Takes another one maybe. And then the door shut. A little quieter because we're moving away from it. Even quieter than that, and maybe a little heavier. It sounds a bit tinny. What do you suppose she has in the locker? So there you go. So that's what it sounds like. So let's listen again. I'm going to mute my mic for a second so you can hear it fully. What do you suppose she has in the locker?
Something.
There. Now this door is a bit. I'm going to make it a little lower. And maybe it's not. It's very tinny. It's not a big deal. That's a bit better. You know, because you want it to have a bit of weight. You want to make it feel like the door is maybe a little longer too. What do you suppose she has in the locker? I also have some echo files here too, so maybe it might be echoed. What do you? So we could have it, if it's later, it kind of gives the impression that he walks away first, even. We could try that. It's a bit too tinny. Or too echoey, I should say. No, I think we had it. What do you suppose she has in the locker? There, so that's a little example of sort of how I frame a scene to make it feel a little bit more alive. So there's a bit of steps
Straight as an arrow, but moves like a serpent. It's
A trap.
and then walking to the door. Now, the other thing we have to remember is that I said the room tone comes back in the hallway. So you want to do this, you know, like, again, one of the tricks is a lot of people bring these in at the wrong time, but you have to think about the scene. So he opens the door, and that's when the sound begins to flood in. But it doesn't come full until the door's shut. So typically I kind of fade it like this. You know, so as he's moving out. And I know this is a quiet track, so I usually isolate, just make sure the volume is okay. Because really all this is scene setting. You know, you're just giving a little bit of vibrancy to the room. So, what do you suppose she... There we go. And I'm going to continue on, and I'll record if something else pops up. All right, so I'm at the part of the script where we sort of had a bit of a question mark in terms of that I wanted some sort of, you know, sound to bring him pleading this sort of sound. Also, sort of just a note, as I have him walking downstairs, again, I'm visualizing it, you know, I'm trying to think of the path that people take. So it's not just, you know, as he's walking down the hall, what do you suppose she has in the locker?
Something that she wants us to find, or others like us.
Answers.
Most definitely.
Whatever she saw or experienced in that house. So, you know, he's heading downstairs, but then there's a break in the stairs. So these are stairs, and then this is again a floor. So it gives the impression that he's sort of, you know, rounding the bend maybe on a floor, like an apartment complex can be sometimes, not having to go through doors. But anyway, here's where we're at.
Well,
Arthur,
What?
stop.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on. The one in the wheel.
So we need some sort of sound. And I don't really know what kind of sound I want yet.
Uh-huh.
A grunt might be kind of cool. Screaming woman could work.
Bleh.
That could be freaky.
Bleh. Bleh.
That might be neat, actually. Let's pull some of those. And typically what I'll do is I'll just pull a bunch. There's no limit to how many I download from this stuff. So, and I might, you know, play around with some of them. Woman laughter. Woman experiencing pleasure. Fortunately, a lot of files are either low. You can kind of hear like, where were we? Like this. You can hear the static, and well, I guess you can't hear. Hold on, I'll mute myself. You can hear the low quality static, which is just bad. And then sometimes people add like reverb and stuff, which isn't what we want either. So I'm pretty pretty fair with what I pick. Especially because, oh, I like the cough. Especially because this is a horror show, right? I mean, it's funny because I think of, there's a lot of different voices I can do, but not a lot of different serious voices that I can do. And sometimes I have trouble with playing extra characters because, of course, I can make a character sound like this and he'll sound completely different. But like, how do you make a character like that fit comfortably into a serious podcast? I like the coughing. I think that's a really cool. Maybe it should just be like coughing. You might recognize this. I used that. 1,000 results. There's a lot. Let's try woman help. Nope. Woman plead. Nope. Well, let's just see what we got so far. So we got the woman disgust is there. Middle-aged woman. Young woman. We'll see what we can find. What?
Stop.
I'm going to mute myself.
Stop.
Bleh.
What is
Bleh.
that?
This is the floor the lady was on. The one in the wheelchair.
She's calling out.
Don't leave it. Let's keep going.
We could help. What is that?
This
Bleh.
So I make it pretty clear that she's calling out. So I kind of forgot. Let me see if I can find. Oh. So the other option I have is I can always just change my voice. Like I can be like, help, help, and like sort of move it up or down or whatever. Or I can just change what Arthur says here.
Bleh.
What is
Bleh.
that?
This is the floor the lady was on, the one in the wheelchair.
He's calling out.
Just leave it.
We could help her.
In fact, I might do that because I don't think I'm going to find calling out. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to swap these lines.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on, the one in the wheelchair.
We could help her.
Just leave it.
We could help her.
Just leave it.
So I'm going to do that. This should be at the end. This is when they're going to be going outside. I can still feel her stench on my... Actually, I think it's right about there anyway. Oops.
But they're all twisted.
Our luck is...
is doing this. Doing this.
Perfect. So that makes it a little easier. I don't have to worry about her calling out anymore.
Let's move. Our locker's there.
Right.
Oops.
We could help her.
Just leave it.
And I think maybe the cough might actually be a good option.
Stop.
Bleh.
And if I warp this down a little bit...
Bleh. Bleh.
You know, like real
This
quiet.
is the floor the lady was...
That's fucking creepy.
Stop.
Bleh.
And I'll echo it.
Bleh.
I have a heavy echo here too.
Stop.
Bleh.
Real quiet.
Stop.
That's pretty gross. Right? And then I could even make her like cough and shit. Let's see this. Now, he hears something first though, so I'll have to do two.
As well.
Arthur.
What?
Stop.
Because he says Arthur, right?
You as well.
Arthur.
What?
Stop.
What is that? What is that?
And that's a bit young, so I'm gonna
What is that?
This
maybe even lower.
What is that?
Maybe this one lower too. That's creepy.
As well.
Arthur.
What?
Stop.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was wheelchair.
We could help her.
That's a much better cough, actually. Let's see if we can get that. A little bit more strained.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on.
I like that. It doesn't even have to be as low.
What is that?
This is the floor.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on. The one in.
Do you want to make sure it doesn't sound too goofy? That sounds maybe even better. Let's try that.
What is that?
This is the floor.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on. The one in the wheelchair.
Yeah, I think that works. And then, you know, to sort of pinpoint it, I think a little bit of music will be nice. Just something that, you know, kind of says, you know, gives a little bit of a, ooh, something's wrong. I use this theme a lot. Who is in here? This is one of my favorite themes, I think.
What is that?
But I gotta pick a good moment of it. You know, I just kind of want a waning, like not a
Leave it.
something's too wrong.
Floor the lady was on. The one in the wheelchair.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was. Stop.
What is that?
Maybe I'll just keep the brewer and save the cough.
Stop.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady.
Maybe I can go a little bit lower. I want it to sound real weird.
Stop.
Yeah, that sounds fucked up.
As well.
Arthur.
What?
That's a bit too low, I think.
Arthur.
What?
That's weird enough. Maybe I'll be a little bit quieter so that you can barely pick it up.
Well.
Arthur.
What?
Stop.
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on. The one in the wheelchair. One in the wheelchair.
We could help her.
There. So now it's sort of like, they're walking down.
As well.
The entity hears that.
Arthur.
What?
Stop.
Then the entity's like, oh, wait, this is a bad idea, right? And Arthur kind of hears that. He's like,
What is that?
This is the floor the lady was on. The one in the wheelchair.
We could help her.
Then Arthur hears the cough.
In the wheelchair.
We could help her.
And he's like, well, if it's an old lady coughing, maybe she's choking. We should check on her.
We could help her.
Just leave it.
Maybe I should keep the music going, eh? Just a little longer.
The one in the wheelchair.
We could help her.
Just leave it. Let's keep going.
Actually, I'm thinking this is just the start of the music.
Let's keep going.
The only thing I have to do is make sure this music is much quieter. So we're gonna do another sound. I'm thinking this coughing now full force. But I'll do the second one so it doesn't sound like a repeat.
Let's keep going. This is a...
And that should be Arthur walking. That's what we want. We want him to be walking towards.
Let's keep going. Going. This is a dim hallway.
I want it a little slower, so I'm going to lower it a bit. And sometimes if I need the spacing, actually I'll take it there.
This is...
So I want to slow it real down, So I'm going to take out every other step. Not that slow.
This is a dim hallway. The apartments look abandoned.
I can hear her.
Now he says he can hear her, so let's put another one of those weird moans in. And maybe we'll do it a little lower, but that same one, because I like that short one.
I can hear her.
Look abandoned.
I can hear her.
Yeah, it sounds cool. And now we'll use that first cough because we only used it the once, so it's not repeating. And I think I'll transpose it a little more. And this tricks the ear so it doesn't feel like it keeps hearing repeating sound effects.
One in the wheelchair.
We could help her.
Just leave it. Let's keep going. This is a dim hallway. The apartments look abandoned.
I can hear her.
Arthur.
Where is she?
There's a door.
And then because I can, just alternate these steps for the second one.
There's a door slightly open to your right.
It sounds like she's inside. We should make...
There's a door slightly open to your right.
It sounds like she's inside. We should make sure she's okay.
Slightly open to your right.
It sounds like she...
It's a bit too quick. I'm going to low.
There's a door slightly open to your right.
It sounds like she's inside. We should make sure she's okay.
Right.
It sounds like she's inside. We should make sure she's okay.
Miss?
Oh God, Arthur. Right.
It sounds like she's inside.
Gonna give it a bit more space here.
It sounds like...
Just gotta make sure that we carry everything over. And again, because I don't want to lower the previous volume, but I do want it not to get too loud, I'm going to lower it.
Right.
It sounds like...
That's a bit loud too.
Or slight.
And we want to hear something inside, so we'll do another one of those woman disgusted sounds. Maybe real low this time. Real weird,
Open to your right.
It sounds like... It sounds like she's...
Maybe that's too low. Maybe go high. Yee, chipmunk.
It sounds like she's inside. We should make sure she's okay. It sounds like...
Maybe I'll make that while she's coughing.
It sounds like she's inside. We should make sure she's okay.
Miss. And then a few more footsteps.
Should make sure she's okay.
Miss.
Oh God.
Sure she's okay. Make sure she's okay.
Miss. Now I have the door open, but not, so I don't need to open it, but I need to squeak. So here's how I sort of fudge that.
It sounds...
Miss.
Oh.
So here we'll do the little opening.
Oh God, Arthur, this place is just...
Miss.
Oh God, Arthur, this place is
You know,
disgusting.
kind of gives the impression that he pushes the door open. Miss.
Oh God, Arthur, this place is disgusting.
Fuck, that smell.
It's vile. There's...
Yeah, I think that works. Anyway, I'm going to keep chugging along, and that was a good show of what's going on, and I'm going to continue working on it. So here's a fun little idea I had. As we're getting to the dishes of rotting food, you can hear here. Oh, hold on.
Well,
I can barely navigate. What is this?
it's a dresser piled high with used dishes.
Oops, I had this idea that it could be really fun to have these flies kind of feel like they're in your ears. Gross. So I created 2 new tracks way down here at the bottom, and I made this one all to the left and this one all to the right.
Used dishes covered in rotting food.
So they kind of come to either ear for a second. You might not be able to hear it on this. Excuse me, but I'll see what happens.
Piled high with used dishes covered in rotting food.
So this idea that, you know, a fly can kind of be like zzz, zzz. And it's funny because I haven't played much with left and right ears in this, and I had intended to originally when this started. I was thinking, what if the entity only talked in like one of your ears? But I thought that could get annoying. But this is sort of the first time I'm playing with left and right. I've done it in other things before, but oh no, did I? I can't remember now. Anyway, but
Used dishes covered in rotting food.
so this comes out of the left ear and this comes out of the right ear. So and it's kind of mixed in there. So hopefully, if you're listening on headphones, the impression will be that these flies are surrounding you. So here we are at the locker scene in the train station, and every once in a while I can't find a sound effect on this. They just don't have it. So I go to YouTube and I find the one I'm looking for, and I pull it off there just with a program that lets me pull audio. Most of these sound effects are free, and even if they're not, I mean, who the heck's going to find out that I'm using a locker sound effect from their YouTube channel? It's a bit crazy, and if they did charge me, I would just do it myself or, you know, record it. So it's pretty minor anyway, but as you can hear here, I'll mute my mic for a second. You'll hear what I'm doing with this locker picking scene. Well then.
All right, take your time here. There, 78. That's 31, 55, 78.
Brilliant. Well,
There's a piece of paper inside.
what's on it? Well,
The
brilliant. Well,
There's a piece of paper inside.
what's on it?
A map. This lake, Lake Crawford.
And you can tell it's just somebody recording themselves opening and slamming it, which is great, but it's not really a good sound effect. Recording sound effects, you have to sort of understand that you just don't open and shut it 100 times. You need to kind of get the subtlety, but that's okay. I have my famous squeak ready, so let's get a little squeaky action on that. Let's make it real high pitched. Well,
There's
and real short and real quiet. Get the sense of, you know.
Brilliant.
Well,
there's a piece of paper.
well,
There's a piece of
well, well,
there,
well,
there's a piece of paper inside.
well, well,
There's
Brilliant.
well. Now, if I was going to be a stickler, metal squeaks sound different than wood squeaks. Oops. That's a metal squeak. So you know what? Might as well do it perfect for you guys. Yeah, wood squeaks have a very distinct sound. Metal squeaks also do. So let's try that again with the metal squeak. Well,
there's a piece of paper inside.
Brilliant.
we'll open that a bit early.
Brilliant.
Well,
There's a piece of
and his well is a bit quick, so I'm gonna my well. Bring these all over a smidge.
Brilliant.
Well,
there's a piece of paper inside.
and what's on it? On it.
A map.
Brilliant.
Well,
There's a piece of paper inside.
and what's on it? Move these over a little smidge more. And then we need a little bit of a piece of a paper pickup, which I already had ready. You can see I added a train station sort of ambience here. Paper pickup is always a tricky one because it's so small, and if you overdo it, it just sounds so fake. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm in no way a professional at this, but I feel like I have a good ear for authentic sounds. Don't get me wrong. I also fuck up and sometimes have some really corny, cheesy sounds, but I really want it to feel real, like you're as close to there as you can be. Well, you know, like that's a bit. You don't spend that long picking a piece of paper. Well,
There's a piece of paper inside.
and what's on it? And what's on it? And what's on it?
Inside.
And what's on it?
Piece of paper inside.
And what's on it?
A map.
A map.
There's a piece of paper.
You know what? I need more time. Let's just extend my time. Make sure these all connect. And what's on it?
A map. There's a piece of paper inside.
I don't think we need that. What's on? It's a bit redundant.
Piece of paper inside. A map.
A map. Let that reveal. It's actually a bit long.
A map.
A map. Of?
A lake. This lake. Lake Crawford.
And?
Lake Crawford.
And?
And an island noted on the far side of it. She has it circled.
Well, I think this is where she wants us to head.
Another choice for you.
And that's
Amanda's
pretty much
murderer.
the end of it. Let me re-record that. I think this is where she wants us to head. I think this is where she wants us to head. A little bit more final, you know. I think this is where she wants us to head. I think this is, well, let's try that again. I think this is where she wants us to head. Not a great last line, really. Well, I think this is where she wants us to head. And then I usually cut these off at the plop plop.
Another.
So right there.
Another.
There. And that, my friends, is the episode. So, we're at 1:42. I started at 11, so 11 to 12, 12 to 1, almost 3 hours, which is pretty on average, maybe a little bit shorter, frankly. This post-production stuff takes a long time, and it really depends on what happened. I got to reuse a lot of sound effects, going outside. But this is what the finished episode looks like, guys. This is what you're paying for, frankly. This amount of effort takes a long time. Now, this is where I sort of call it, because I always get not annoyed, but I get exhausted at this part. So what I do now is I will make sure to save it, and then I will export this. The entirety of this episode, 29, not Dice Shame. I export it into my Malevolent folder. I mean, you guys wanted to see, you didn't want to see, you didn't ask for this. I wanted to show you guys every step of the way. So I'm showing you every step of the way. So I export this, the entirety of this, and then what I'll do when it's done is I will upload it to our drive, and I will send it to my love, Joe, who will give it a listen and critique it for me for multiple reasons. One, I get tired of listening to it at this point. Two, it's always better to kind of get a second set of ears on it, because I'm always, it's difficult to judge for yourself sometimes. And sometimes, rarely, as some of you who are watching this might know, I have sent it to you in the past to get some feedback. I know I've sent an episode to Alexi, I think the last one actually, because it sounded an awful lot like myself, just doing the different voices. And I want to make sure that they sound as different, and it's tough for me to do it on my ear. And some of you still might feel like I didn't do a diverse enough job, but that's okay. So I'll upload it here. This is sort of our finished folder. And I will send that link to Joe to listen to tonight. And basically from here, she will tell me that it is either a go or it is not. I'll have tonight or tomorrow to fix it. Then when it's done, I'll post the Patreon poll. I'll do sort of a timed post, 7 a.m. Wednesday morning. The episode will release once it's good. And, and then I'll do the poll to go the next morning at the same time. So that is basically it from top to bottom, an episode of Malevolent. When these are all done, when I do 5 at the end of the month, I cut them all into one large piece, as you guys know, and put them publicly. But that is it for what I wanted to show you. So I hope this has been informative. This is obviously done now. If not, fair enough. Sorry. And I hope you get to see exactly what you guys are help pay for, and exactly what you get to help sort of contribute to. All of this is possible because of you guys. And I love doing it despite the annoying times sometimes. And, now I'm going to go edit Dice Shame. So thanks, guys. Have a great day, and hope this was informative.